What made the Vril Society unique is that among the many multifarious occult societies that existed at the time, it was one of the only ones that allowed women to have membership. Now, there were a specific group of women inside of the Vril Society. They were some of the primary participants and even leaders of the Vril Society. They're referred to as the Vril Maidens. These were very famous and powerful psychic mediums, German psychic mediums, and they were all females. The chief psychic among them was a woman by the name of Maria Orsic. Maria Orsic was a powerful medium who was operating inside of the Thule Society, and she ended up coming over to the newly formed Vril Society and leading the Vril Maidens, which also included a woman by the name of Sigrun, who is somewhat of a mysterious figure who was another leader within the Vril Maidens.
The women mediums of the Vril Society were known as being extremely beautiful and having long hair. This was their MO, or their trademark, if you will.
Well, the women in this cult grew their hair right down to their ankles, right down to the floor, because their hair was a cosmic antenna to reach the other world.
The Vril Maidens were distinctive in that they all wore their hair very long. And what these mediums believed about their hair, which actually ends up being a biblical concept, is that their hair caused them to be able to communicate better with entities, with these, if you want to call them demonic or extra-dimensional or alien entities. They felt that their hair, their long hair, worked somewhat like an antenna, which is interesting if you put it in the context of Scripture. And we find that in the New Testament, Paul is telling the women that when they pray, they should cover their heads for the sake of the angels. So there does seem to be a relationship between women's long hair and some kind of a seducing effect it has on angelic entities or perhaps interdimensional entities. That seems to be what Paul is indicating, for the sake of the angels. In other words, so that they don't stumble, is the way that I read into that verse. So these Vril Maidens were very high-level occultists. They were involved in all kinds of Crowleyan-style sex magic, and so were all of the members of the Vril Society. Remember, these are high-ranking Nazis that are members of the Vril Society, the highest-ranking Nazis, such as Adolf Hitler himself, and then all of his henchmen, all of his officials, his main officials. Most of them were part of this Vril Society, involved in these occult activities, which very likely also involved human sacrifice, the drinking of blood, and of course lots and lots of sex magic.
One of the most notable mediums of the society was Maria Orsic, who was on a constant mission to connect with entities from other galaxies, or as we would say, other dimensions. Towards the end of World War II, Maria Orsic claimed to have psychically received blueprints for a special alien spacecraft that would bring an escape to a select few into a galaxy known as the Aldebaran.
During a seance, Maria Orsic and another gal claimed to have come in contact with their ancient Nordic gods from the Aldebaran system in outer space. And from them, they actually literally got a map written in ancient Sumerian. It was actually like a blueprint with details on how to develop a time machine. This is the basis and the foundation, but later on we had the actual records of a Deglaka. But this was as early as in the 20s, so it took that length of time to even have the materials to begin to work on such a project.
They conducted a seance type ceremony, and they were trying to summon a particular person who had recently died. And what happened was they ended up making contact with these entities who claimed to be from the Aldebaran star system. And these entities began to channel through Maria Orsic, whose eyes were rolling back into her head. And these women, when they were involved in their occult ceremonies and seances and so forth, would allegedly actually secrete what they called ectoplasm. So they would be in these heightened occult states where their bodies and minds would be taken over and their voices would be taken over by entities, sometimes non-human entities. And in this particular occasion, that is what happened. So during this channeling ritual with Maria Orsic and another woman and these soon-to-be Nazi Party members, she began to channel these entities that claimed that they were from the Aldebaran star system. But they had come to Earth at some point in the distant past, and they settled in Sumer, in the plains of Shinar, until a great flood destroyed their civilization, after which time some of them were able to escape. These were the entities that were supposedly speaking through Maria Orsic. And she began to automatic write for them in Sumerian cuneiform and also in the Templars' secret coded language, so the legend goes. And when that cuneiform text and the coded language of the Templars was decoded, what they got were schematics, blueprints for the construction of flying machines, what we would call flying saucers.
Ironically, she was never found in the aftermath of the war. No dead body or even a trace of her existence.
The Vril Society is so secret to this day we don't know that it ever actually existed. But it's kind of like the wind. You can't see it, you don't know that it's there, but you see the after effects of the resultant impact. The Vril Society, the only reason we know that there must be something to it, we see the results of engineers that worked as part of a member of this society that had secret knowledge, I believe, was given from fallen angels to actually accomplish technology that was so far above anything else that existed on this earth.
You cannot separate the Nazi Party, the Nazi regime, from the occult. And you cannot separate the occult part of the Nazi regime from contact with what some might refer to as extra-dimensionals or extraterrestrials, or perhaps the Vril from under the earth, from the inner earth.
But the basis of the Nazi force, if you will, goes back to the Vril, or the power of the Vril, which according to occultists lies with the master entities inside the hollow earth. The Nazis knew this. The Hindus knew this, the Buddhists knew this, as well as countless others who have sought power and enlightenment in the world system, both politically and spiritually.